My name is Rick Dickinson. I was the industrial designer at Sinclair Research, responsible for the industrial design, product design of all of their computers, and namely the ZX Spectrum.
To the untutored eye, the ZX80 and the ZX81 were very similar in external appearance, but radically different from the ZX Spectrum, which followed them in 1982. Why is the Spectrum so radically different, and what was your role in making that so?
As you say, fundamentally the same product, a few tweaks here and there, but whilst all that was going on, we realised there was a big nut to crack, which would have make an enormous difference to the user experience, and that was moving from monochrome to colour. And, you know, I think for me, the colour as a user experience, and certainly from an industrial design standpoint, that was a big driving factor. You also got to remember, these technologies didn't exist. No one was making this stuff, okay? So we were pioneering this stuff. So we had to come up with a different idea. And I think this is where the rubber keyboard came in. And you know, I was talking earlier about the magic of materials. So for example, if you take rubber, it has some amazing qualities. So if you shape it appropriately, you have a surface that you can print onto, so you can see what the key is. You have a surface you can touch. You have a surface that you can depress that actually will go into a movement. And when the press is over, it recovers its shape and lifts off. You've then just got to have an actuation device underneath. So that could be a membrane keyboard. So you've just taken a ZX81 keyboard and stuck it under the rubber part, okay? So out of, if you think of a membrane keyboard as being a laminate of 3 parts and the rubber as 1, so you've got 4 components now to do the job of hundreds. So the other thing, and a pet of mine, which really finished off the fundamental driving forces of the Spectrum, was that I didn't want the computer to look like everybody else's, which is just a keyboard, because, you know, the keyboard is bigger than the computer that's going inside it, or it certainly was in our case. And again, there's an industry standard for the pitch of keys and their spacings, and we completely ignored that. You know, well, why should we stick with an industry? We don't want our computer to be unnecessarily large. We know no one's going to type on it, or touch type, should I say. So all of those restrictions that you'd have on a normal keyboard shouldn't apply to us, and so we could make it any size we want. And say, small is beautiful, and that was the company ethos. So we had a lot of flexibility. So we already had something small, and we could make it larger if there were reasons why we could think that would be an advantage. So going back to my thing about, but I don't want the computer to just be a keyboard, because it's not. You know, it's more than that. So, but you can't just package air. Really, it's not very. You're not being true to the functionality of it. You know, we don't want styling for styling's sake and all the rest of it. You know, everything is driven by very important factors. And I wouldn't say applied styling as an important factor. I mean, styling and how something looks comes from other areas, and they're largely areas of function rather than applied in some other way. So how do I stop my computer looking like a keyboard like all the others? Well, I've got these rubber keys, difficult to make a shape that looks particularly nice. I've got this metal surround, which could be 3-dimensional. Now I've got a PCB area that's being given to me. It's got a number of things that need to plug in. Well, I'm going to have everything plug in the back because it's tidier. Unlike the ZX81, we had stuff on the side. And this is it. This is what it's about. The computer shouldn't look like a keyboard, it should look like a product, and the keyboard is not the product, that's just the user interface. There's more to it than that, you know, and there's a heart and soul in there on the circuit board and all the rest. I don't know where it came from, but the idea of curving, rolling the sides, and then following that roll with the metal keyboard surround plate, or escutcheon as it was called in those days, that was a breakthrough and gave it a lot of its character. As the designer of the Sinclair ZX Spectrum, it gives me great pleasure to support the rollout of the Bluetooth ZX Spectrum.